our Bensonhurst location at Matchpoint NYC, and we're gonna do a little kind of quick interview of teaching philosophies, where we've gotten so far with the club and the kids, and kind of the progress overall that we've made. Daniel, thank you for agreeing for to this a little chat, if I can call it that. Can you just kind of tell me a little bit about your background?
I started playing tennis when I was about 6 or 7, I'd say, here in Brooklyn. Jumped around. I actually started at the old facility that was here at our Shell Road Matchpoint facility. It used to be called Brooklyn Racket Club at the time. Jumped around from a number of clubs down here in Brooklyn. Played in the Eastern section, played nationally, got recruited to play at GW. And then after a brief hiatus from tennis, I started working with some clinics that my former college coach was running, and realized that this is something that I enjoyed doing and wanted to do at least part-time. I enjoyed teaching, and one thing led to another, and it just kind of became a little bit more serious, and it became a very big passion of mine, and can't really see myself doing anything else right now.
So what I know, you kind of started with the Red Bull program here at Shell Road, and then you became the director of the Orange program, now the Green Dot tennis director at the Bensonhurst. Walk me through what kind of spurs that desire, to progress and, create something, if I could call it of your own, your own little paradise of a program.
Like you said, I started working with the Red Balls and Red Ball kids, 4 or 5-year-old kids, and kind of growing the kids from that point. I quickly realized that if you can teach those kids how to play, you can pretty much teach anybody. So it really forced you to come up with creative teaching methodologies and creative strategies to get kids firstly interested in learning, motivated to continue learning, and then maybe most importantly progressing, so that they want to continue, so that their parents want to continue in the programs. I guess I worked with the Red Bull program for close to 5 years, and helped continue working with those kids, and helped start the Orange Bowl program here at this club before we moved it over to the Bay Parkway location. And
here comes the train. That's the minute of silence in Brooklyn.
Over the course of time working with the Red Balls and moving them over to Orange Balls, we kind of saw the different skills that you had to focus on with the Red Ball kids, how it was different working with the Orange Ball kids. And then past that, working with the Green Dot kids, different skills that you have to introduce, when you have to introduce certain skills, what kind of things you could expect from different age kids. And it really sparked my interest in working with the 10 and under population, and moving them on to 12 and under, and hopefully they turn into some high performance kids. But we've done, our coaching staff and I, and we've throughout the years we've done really good work with fostering this kind of very, I'd say, pretty tight-knit team environment, where these kids have grown up together since they were about 6 or 7. So that's 3-4 years now. They've competed together in junior team tennis events. They've competed at all the same USTA Eastern events. We host match play events that is I think the highlight of a lot of these kids' weeks. They can't wait to come and play, and it's just really rewarding to see that.
Yeah. Which leads me to the next question. How do you structure the lessons, and what role just kind of USTA NetGeneration curriculum and a lot of USPTA and other materials that are floating out there, how do you kind of process it and take the best and make it your own?
I like that question because I think that at some point pretty recently my personal strategy and philosophy in teaching has kind of pivoted, where I'm still very technique oriented, and I think I was a lot more before. And the more I see kids compete, the more I see kids play together, I I start realizing, the more I see kids from other locations play as well, I start to realize that technique is important, but only to a point. And if you don't know, if you don't have any situational awareness, or if you don't know how to use that technique in placing your shots and getting around the court, then it really doesn't matter how nice your forehand and backhand looks. So I think that the NetGeneration curriculum that you actually had brought here and that we worked on to kind of like maybe fine tune it to our kids, it's been instrumental in kind of getting me to see things a little bit differently, because their curriculum focuses a lot on gameplay, on point construction, on really developing the mind when it comes to tennis and the approach to the sport. And so while I still am, really, really big on proper technique, because I will always think that it's very difficult to teach a kid proper technique, but it's easier than having to fix it later on.
Definitely.
With the right basics and the right fundamentals, but they kind of develop their own, swing path or their own, they kind of treat the grip to the way that they're comfortable with it. It doesn't have to be so cookie cutter and strict, exactly. But as long as they know where to place that forehand, or where they should be hitting their first volley, or where they should be standing for their second volley, things like that, where specifically I've tried to tailor a lot of drills with the help of the USTA NetGeneration curriculum in really understanding point play and how to win points.
I would just add maybe one thing is assessments.
Yes.
I know assessments play like a big role when you work on the Red Bull program, and still they play like a big role. And I also agree that it's, like no stroke is the same, but as long as you have the correct understanding of the bones, then you can kind of build your own, kind of like structure, if you will.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your coaching achievements and maybe kind of the goals that you're setting for yourself and the team, and maybe, I also like help Daniel a little bit, so maybe like for us as well. I know this year has been very difficult. We ran a program on Zoom for some, for red kids and the orange kids, so they had an ability to kind of stay close to the game and stay active and just kind of feel like a sense of normalcy. But walk me through of what how you see this thing kind of develop.
Firstly, I just want to say that I feel like extremely fortunate to be given the opportunity to work with the kids that we had worked with from a very young age. I feel like they had a very good foundation. For the most part, they're extremely respectful and disciplined and hardworking, even if they need a nudge sometimes. So it's very, very rewarding, and I feel very proud to be able to continue with them. They've been together for some time, like I said, about 3-4 years now, and I think one of the things that I really like to see is the camaraderie there. And they're kids, and so they bicker and they argue and argue about the score and that was in, that was out, and all that stuff.
Right. But at the last junior tennis event, I think the camaraderie was amazing. Everybody was cheering, fist bumping, communicating. I think it was kind of the strongest camaraderie and sportsmanship yet that we've seen in a couple of years since we started playing, at the USTA events.
I just find that to be, thank you for saying that. I find that to be probably the most important thing for the young kids to learn, is how to support one another, not to kind of kick each other when they're down, bring one another up. I'm very big on that in practices. I'm very big on positive talking with respect to one another, but also positive self-talk. I am pretty strict with people being negative on themselves. I have a couple of kids who I work with who are extremely tough on themselves, and You know, I always try to get those reactions under control before they get out of hand throughout the practice, and I hope that continues in a match, because you know, if you practice that kind of stuff in training, it should translate into a match. But to go further on that, you know, we practice things like, you know, if you have a rally of 20 balls in a you know, down the line game that we're doing, you know, you stop the rally, run up, clap your hands or clap rackets now, and that's a USTA NetGeneration curriculum inspired thing that we've been doing, and the kids love it. You know, we have like little friendly competitions with that, so they're still competing, but you know, they're not. There's no sense of like, well, I'm better than him. So
right. There's no winners or losers. Everybody's kind of working on doing their best and just making sure that they're trying to improve from practice to practice. Yeah. One thing that Coach Daniel always says is what? The score is not important.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I refuse to tell the kids the score at our team events. I hide the score sheet. The one thing I say is just like fight for every game. If you're losing, you're losing. It's okay. Fight for the next game. Just show a little bit of character. The other thing I wanted to add is something that we've been doing a little bit more recently as the program has been growing. So there are times that we have kids of different levels playing on two different courts. So we have, let's say green dot kids, competitive kids playing on court 1, and on court 2 we have our middle level, maybe orange level 2 group. After that group is over, so it's an hour and a half in that tennis practice. After that group is over, we have tennis fitness, strength and conditioning, and something that we've been trying to do with those groups in particular is, instead of everybody working at their own station, or instead of everybody just running sprints and doing relay races, we've been trying to set up partners to a station, and so the partners would be one kid from court 1, one kid from court 2. And just sort of, it helps the coaches because we can just say, hey guys, court 1, help the kids on court 2 figure out the drill, figure out the station if they don't know it. And so it kind of relaxes our need to constantly correct everything, because we feel like we have, monitors leading the younger generation. And it's cool to see, because sometimes the kids' difference in age is, one boy is 9, another boy on the other court is 8, so it's not a huge difference in age, but that boy still feels, okay, well, I have this leadership responsibility now. And so it's beneficial for him, and it's beneficial for the younger kid, because he sees, he's only a year older than me, I can do this.
Right.
And that's been really helpful, and I think that also just kind of reinforces the teamwork and camaraderie.
Let me ask you another question. I think this might be the last question. If there was one thing that you wanted your students to remember, so per se, if you could teach them just one thing, what would that be? And it doesn't have to be related to tennis or to anything that we've discussed. Maybe it has to do with personal development, or just kind of one thing that they would take with them.
I don't know, I guess hard work and accountability. It doesn't matter how talented you might be or how much time you spend on the court. It's I always think it's the quality of the time that you spend on the court.
Right, not the point.
Yeah, it's not. I think Kobe, rest in peace, said this quote was attributed to him, that it's not the amount of hours that you spend on the court, it's the quality of the hours. Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to steal that from him, but I'll definitely borrow it, because I think it's very wise. You could spend 2 hours hitting balls, but if you're reinforcing mistakes, or if you're sloppy with your footwork, then what good is it, right? It's just stuff that you're gonna have to relearn. Right. And we have practices sometimes out of an hour and a half where we have a discussion for about half an hour. Mm-hmm. We play, bring it in, discuss, and I think that those can be some of our more productive ones, even though the kids sometimes don't even break a sweat until we run them around in fitness.
Right, yeah. But they have a deeper understanding of what we're trying to teach them. And
right.
I believe once the child understands what's needed, they just progress so much faster.
Yeah.
If you can have a drill where you have a progression and regression, then you can teach it to pretty much anybody.
Absolutely.
Well, Danny, thank you for this chat, and